Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. You ready for another episode of my Bigfoot sighting? Alright then, let's do this.
Seen a bunch of rundown no-horse towns where the church is the backbone, loves and the plow, and the five-string melodies grooving, with the farmland rows where the roots run deep, beyond the noise of the busy streets, where the songs of the South are soothing. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah.
Tonight's guest is courtesy of the U.S. Bigfoot Patrol. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to report it to them, please call them at 865-383-0778.
My Bigfoot sighting happened in 1971. We had gone camping. My family loved the outdoors. We would go to the lake. We would go pretty much everywhere and camp. There was one particular time we had gone to the Great Smokey Mountains. I had just turned 8 years old, and we were going camping for the weekend. We drove down as normal, and we ended up going kind of out of the way in an area called Cades Cove. And I remember driving in there with my family, and we had finally reached a campsite that I can't remember ever being to before. When we got there, we got out, got our stuff unpacked, got everything ready. It was late afternoon, and there were a few other families there, again with some kids. There was a young kid my age, approximately, and the rest were girls, probably ranging 12, 13 years old as the oldest. And after we started talking to everyone, and the kids were playing. We were playing everything from hide and go seek to passing football, and a lot of the families were cooking out, mine included, and we started passing football out in the campground area. The campground area was surrounded by forest. We had timber everywhere. And we were on a little campground ledge, I guess. And if you walked in one direction, you would go down an embankment and go on down into the timber. And we were passing football, and it was an orange football, possibly a UT football, had white circles on either end of it. And we'd probably been passing, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And one of the girls threw it completely over my head, and it went into the timber. And as an 8-year-old, I darted after it, since I was the one who missed the ball. And I remember going down the embankment looking for it. It was, I don't know what time of evening it was, but it was starting to get dusk. So lighting wasn't optimum for us to keep doing that. I walked around down there, and I finally saw the football lodged up in some brush against a tree that had fallen over, and I grabbed the ball, and I looked up, and the hill continues going downward on an embankment. And I guess it was around 25 feet away from me, somewhere in that area. I looked up, and I saw what looked like a right shoulder of those big wooden statues you would see in any tourist area, Gatlinburg, wherever you go. You either have a bear or whatever, the big wooden statues. And the first thought that hit my mind was that must be a place for us to explore later. So I was kind of kind of that thought process. And it stepped out from behind a tree. And when it moved laterally. And the first thing that came to my mind was the size of it. I think that's the first thing anyone, other than the shock of seeing something like that, would notice is the exact size of these things are enormous. When he stepped out, he looked at me. He had the conical shaped head, and he had gray on his chest. I don't know if that was due to his age or what coloring or what have you, but he was a little gray. To the best of my memory, I would estimate he's probably 8 feet in height. Just enormous. The arms did hang down on either side below the knee. And we sat there. I couldn't move. I don't know if it was just from pure shock or whatever, but I was unable to move at all. I couldn't scream, couldn't do anything, completely frozen, looking at this thing in awe. And we stared at each other for what seemed like a long time, probably in reality 4 or 5 seconds. He turned his head to the right and looked at me, then moved it back into its normal position and bolted off behind the tree and was gone. The speed that this thing moved is just, it almost disappeared, but it's that quick. And at that point, I took off as fast as an 8-year-old could run back into the campground screaming, King Kong is in the woods here. Had no idea anything at that age about a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch at all. Didn't know anything about him. King Kong was the only thing I could actually compare it to. And of course, the men came out and they thought that I'd seen a bear, and they went to the wood line and down in there and looked and said that you'd probably seen a bear. And I said, this wasn't a bear. It was King Kong. So my father talked to me later after I calmed down a bit and wanted to know in detail, what did you see? And I explained to him what I saw. And he could see that it wasn't a bear just due to my expression. I've seen bears off and on around home, especially in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area. So, I was very familiar with what a bear, as anyone else is, what they look like. And this wasn't a bear. And I remember that the night, I couldn't really sleep well. It was a terrifying experience for an 8-year-old, because you at that age do not know at that point what to believe and what not to believe. So it would mess with anyone, in my opinion, that would have an encounter with one of these creatures at all. It does something to you that you can't even really explain, but it just changes your thought process, how you feel about things, I guess. So through the years, I even slept with a Red Ryder BB gun. When I was younger, I had a Red Ryder loaded in bed with me, just for obviously psychological reasons. An 8-year-old would take a BB gun to bed with them, but that's basically what happened there. Through the years, my father and I would talk about this from time to time, and he always told me to keep this to yourself. Don't really let anyone else know these things, what you saw. And I did. My father passed away when I just turned 17 years old. And, so I'd made a pact that, I wouldn't mention it. So through the years, I would always try to keep up with it, as much as possible, with what was going on. The Leonard Nimoy show, what was that, In Search Of, I believe, had a segment. Then I started really reading and trying to find out what these things are. And then I had read about a case with a young guy named Dennis Martin, which ironically happened in the same area that I was in when this encounter happened to me. And he and I would have been the same age, actually. This happened 2 years prior, approximately 2 years prior to what happened to him. Was 2 years earlier. And since then, I always wondered if what I saw was the one, or if they run in a clan. I have no idea, but this was the one that got him, if that's actually what was responsible for his disappearance. So, you go through life knowing this, and you keep it inside, as the majority of people do. They don't report a sighting. They keep it inside, and for fear of ridicule or what have you. Your job, what have you. You keep that inside. And through the years, I did that. And this has been over a year ago. A feed popped up on my YouTube channel, How to Hunt, Steve Isdahl. And I'd watched that for 2 or 3 months and decided, I feel like just letting this out. That seemed like a very safe format to do it. And Steve seemed to be genuine and very, very accommodating to people like me who had gone through this. That's the whole purpose of his channel. And I finally decided to write him with the encounter I just told you about. And he read it online a day or two after I'd sent it. And that started I don't know if you would call it healing or what have you, but it started my journey to heal, or journey to find out what these things actually are. There's, and I found out in the Bigfoot community, whatever you want to call it, there's different factions. You've got one group that believes they're an ape. You got so many different beliefs that are going in there. And the problem is you can't get them as a group to work together for whatever reason. And that's just my opinion of it, though. So, through the years after going through this, anytime I would be in the timber, in the woods, you're on totally high alert. Any noise that's out of the normal noise, from a squirrel running through the leaves, or you see a deer, whatever, any noise or anything, it highlights your senses. You're on guard. And I believe that all of us have some sort of ability built into us to sense when something's not right, or there's a fear factor involved in that. And every time I've been in the woods from that encounter till present, I'm always on high alert. You never know what's out there after seeing one of these. You're always wondering, if one of these things are around or what have you. But the size and the speed that my memory has embedded in it of this encounter, it could have easily gotten me and been gone in seconds, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Nothing. And these things are really fast. The one I saw was huge. It's quick, and definitely something that would cause you to have nightmares over. And through the years, that's happened as well. And they come and go at very different times. I don't know what would cause them when they come. It doesn't matter, but the dream is pretty much the same every time. You in the dream, I'm over its shoulder and it's running through the forest with me. And in the dream, I can almost physically feel myself bouncing off of its shoulder as it runs. And it's really crazy. My wife has even told me, I didn't know this until recently, that when I'm having one of these dreams, I start talking and moving. So there you go. It does mess with you psychologically, and that's you can imagine anyone that would have an encounter. I think all of us, or the majority of us, has the same effect on us. So since then, in the last year, I'd made some friends in the community, telling them about my encounter, what had happened, to get feedback on what they know about these creatures. And I've one person in particular, Mateo Argalaga. I can't even pronounce his last name right now, but the website's Modern Explorer. Mateo's in Colorado. They do a lot of going out into the timber and seeing what what evidence they can find. And Mateo's gotten quite a bit of evidence. So we, at that point, formed a group, and we're going out in the spring to do an expedition for about a week. So this has really opened me up now to wanting to find out what these creatures are. They're real. It's such a, I guess you would call it a mainstream science. The majority of the scientists would consider it suicide for their career to even give a second look at any of the evidence. And the ones who have actually gotten evidence, Scott Carpenter, Melba Ketchum, that group in the Sasquatch Geno Project, captured some really, really strong DNA evidence, which has been credited and discredited in peer reviews. And so there seems to be some unknown force stopping people from doing and agreeing with the evidence at hand. So this is just I found out this is a big rabbit hole you jump in when you have an encounter. If you want to go further with it, the rabbit hole just gets deeper. So you pick a direction and take it from there and go with it. So that's what we're doing now. I live near a trail that my wife and I go walking on. We ride our bikes on, and every time we're on that trail, I don't have the feeling one's around, but I'm always looking and listening for anything out of the ordinary, when we're on it. You'll always have that after an encounter. I think everyone that's encountered one of these beings definitely maintain that outlook when they're in a position that one of these creatures could be near them. So I haven't had an encounter since then. That's 57 now, so that's been 49 years ago that my encounter happened. And it still affects you psychologically and emotionally today. So it's with you the rest of your life. So that's my encounter, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Well, that's it for tonight's show. If you've had a Bigfoot sighting and would like to be a guest, please go to mybigfootsighting.com and let us know. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.
Seen a bunch of rundown no-horse towns where the church is the backbone, loves in the plow, and the five-string melodies grooving, with the farmland rows where the roots run deep, beyond the noise of the busy streets, where the songs of the South are soothing. When I hear the front porch picking down, home rhythm ringing out, I don't run from banjo music. Yeah.